All righty, folks. One of the things I love about creating and growing a school community is you get to meet a lot of new individuals. Some of them are coming when they're just starting. Others are like, I want to be a part of this because I have a story to tell, I have some experience, and I want to help others. Today, we're going to talk to somebody who has 40, 40 years experience in the real estate game. We're going to learn how he got started. We're going to learn about the process and why he is interested in helping people. Bill, how you doing, man? Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes.
I'm doing good, thank you. So ask anything you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it is important for people to I always like to go back to the beginning. So where does this 40-year journey begin? Because lots of people have that moment or that desire, but it's often different for a lot of people. So what was your beginning?
I was to get married in 1973. I didn't know how to buy a house or anything. So I said I'd take a real estate class. And in 1972, a guy named Al Lowry came through the Seattle area, and I took his course, and it changed my way of thinking. Even though I didn't make a lot of money, I had a low-paying government job. Um, I took the class, and what I learned changed my way of thinking by just that one class, because I've taken several since, and I've learned a lot. And so I'd like to share whatever I can.
Yeah. Well, let's if you don't mind, let's talk about 1972, 1973. That was 52 years ago for those that are counting. Um, Wages back then, you were probably, I have no idea, but I'm going to guess six, seven, eight,
Probably,
10
yeah,
grand, something.
no, probably in probably about 500,
Yeah.
you know,
500 a paycheck.
yeah, $500 gross, you know,
Gross, not
if
net, gross.
yeah, not net gross. Um, Yeah. So anyway, what happened was I took the class. It changed my way of thinking. What I learned and still remember to this day, it wasn't how much you made, it's how well you manage what you make. And that's some of the things I really agree with you on. Um, and that you didn't need a lot of money, but you needed the knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's why I still continue 50 years later to take real estate classes, because you never know who's going to sit next to you
Yeah.
and might give you a piece of advice. And the other thing I try to do is I live below my means. Never take on, I think, a house payment and a car payment and maybe a credit card, but we always pay the credit card off and the other two payments, so I
Yeah.
you got to live below your means so you have reserves. Then I sleep better.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think that is such wise advice. I don't know where we got away from that over the last 50 years, but the real key, I call it discretionary income. You call it disposable income. It's those seeds, whether they're initially or reserves, but more importantly, they become seeds that you can plant. And Bill, one of the things I love about talking to somebody who's been doing it 50 years is you can actually see what the forest looks like. A lot of us, when we get started, we have this little seed and we take the time to put it in the ground and we want it to be a tree tomorrow. And that's just not how it works. So, when you think about what you've done over the last 50 years, take us through kind of the highlights. How does this 50-year journey evolve?
well, first off, one of the things I learned is I listen to professionals, those that are smarter than me. What happened was I took that class. I went back and talked to my dad and told him what I was going to do. And he said to me, "Look, I'll sell you the family farm." Dad, I don't make enough money to buy the family farm. So he wanted to move. So he said he'd give it to me for basically nothing down.
Hmm.
But which so I started making payments in 73 when we got married. But it's what I call the second down payment, that um, fix up costs. I learned in that class about fix up costs. And let me tell you, that took way more than any down payment over the years. Even when I sold the property on a 1031 exchange or part of it, um, the um, I don't know, I I spent a lot of money. I don't know how much. I was always
Uh,
putting money into that
Yeah.
property.
Yeah,
And
I
more
call it
than I
make
should.
ready. Yeah, the
Yeah,
make ready, the ownership costs.
right.
They could certainly add up. Yep.
Yeah, they added up, and that's what I paid for. So I lived in this old farmhouse. I had some cows, and then in see that I bought it in, let's say 73, about 1979 by going to these classes and stuff. And I was fixing the place up all along. In 79, I learned that I could short plat it. So
Mm.
I had 10 acres and I short platted and got two more lots.
Okay.
And then on one of the lots in 1980, I built um, uh, a two-story single-family home with no garage because back then 18% interest is what I could get.
Yeah. It's
And
very high interest rates. Yes.
yeah, so we built the house. I kept the family farmhouse
Hmm.
that and rented it out. And then I did that. Oh, it's hard to remember going back that long.
Yeah.
I built the family farm, fixed it up, built my house, and then rented the family farm out and still saved money because I had to put it back in.
Hmm.
And then I had three lots, one lot with a rental house on, another lot with the house that we lived in. I then later, after a few years, somewhere in about 83, 84, 85, so I added a garage where I knew someone that um, could build the garage that we wanted. So we built that. And again, we paid cash for it. We saved up for it.
Mm.
And it was a big garage, like 800 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So, and then, um, so that took care of two of the lots. And then sometime a couple years later, I learned that I could borrow off of life insurance.
Mm.
So then I had a vacant lot that I put a driveway and utilities in, septic tank, that kind of stuff. And I borrowed to put that in.
Hmm.
And what I did was um, I had a tenant put their mobile home on the lot
Oh, okay. There you go.
and rented that lot out because I wanted to get cash flow back then.
Yeah.
All right.
Income. Yep.
And then what happened was um, it got harder to save
Hmm.
because I had two girls about that time, born in 77 and in 79, and my wife didn't work. And we did take in kids after a couple, 3 years of her being a stay-at-home mom
Mm.
to help out. And so we did that. Let's see, so now I got three rentals,
Hmm.
or no, two rentals. And then I don't think I did much for several years. I was happy with that. And
Right.
then um, I think my first wife, well, what I also did, I know you're not going to like this, but um, I was unable to find houses that I could save up enough for to make a down payment on
Mm.
and make them cash flow. So
Right.
I was going to these real estate classes and still listening and getting knowledge to manage what I have. But I did that for several years, but I dropped out and I did karate with my
Mm.
daughters, and that was well worth it. I'd do it over again instead of even
Nice.
get the real estates. So we did that. And then my first wife passed away in 97.
Okay.
And what I did was I took that farm home in sometime in 2000, I think in 2002. I did that I did a 1031 and
Okay.
bought a duplex. And this time the interest rates were really low and my mom was widowed by then and she was getting less on her um, money. And I said, look, I'll borrow $50,000 from you and give you 6%, which was at that time, I think a little bit more than
Yeah,
what banks was a lot more than what banks was. She's getting like less than 1%. So she was
right.
really happy with that.
I remember.
And
Yeah,
okay, so then I bought a duplex and then I paid that off as fast as I could because I was getting close to retirement.
sure.
Okay, then that was in 2002. Um, I gotta look up. See, I just have a hard time remembering some of this
That's all
stuff.
right. That's great. No, this is fun. So let's talk about the desire to pay off property because I that's a very very frequent question. What I think it boils down to is Bill is where you are in your journey, right? If you're just starting out, you're young and hustling, and you have a income from something, debt is kind of your friend, assuming it's fixed rate, cash flow, all of that. But if you're getting close to retirement and the end is closer than the beginning, I I think paying off property, reducing pressure is a good thing. It's a strategic thing. What do you think of that?
I agree. Absolutely agree. I mean, when I was younger, I borrowed, on fixing up the place and the farm and that. But once I hit, about my 60s,
Yeah.
then I wanted to retire. I mean, I worked for the government, and so I retired at age, well, 60.
Okay.
Um, and then I got Social Security about 5 years later. Now, what the income property for younger people did for me, just a couple, was I could retire, and the income I have from Social Security and does not qualify, and my state retirement did not qualify me to rent for
Hmm.
myself. Any of my,
Wow.
so you can,
People, this is important, right? We have a young man here, 50 years in the game. He's done the 40-40 life, right? You worked 40 hours for 40 years, you've got to the end, and he just told you that the what he was promised doesn't even allow him to qualify to rent something from himself. This is why you've got to buy real estate and hold it long, hold it for decades because it can become something. And then it becomes after 40 years, it's paid off, right? So it's
yeah,
that's crazy. That's wild.
yeah. And so where was I going?
So what
Um,
does your portfolio look like today? Do you still have this duplex and a couple of the homes?
okay, have no, okay. In 20 okay, in 2017,
Hmm.
again, by going to these classes, I bought um a house in Florida and I have it right now.
Okay.
Now, boy, and this is something, if anybody can help me, I'm really struggling with right now. Still, I'm at 80 years old and still having to think. Um, what to do next because I'm really scared about insurance in Florida and
Sure.
flooding. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing an REIT
A
and
re
selling that, doing a 1031 to um, into that with that property.
Okay.
It so anyway, if anybody has any ideas, I'd be glad to listen to.
Yeah, yeah. I'll search for someone. There was somebody I talked to a year or two ago that helps people move or 1031 into um it has to be like kind as but
Yeah,
there's a way you could do it. I don't remember it, but I'll see if I can find that guy for you that has done it. Let me take that action item.
sure. Okay,
Cool.
so I bought a property in Florida, a single family home in a probably a lower middle class area. And
Forgive me, Bill. Was that just a same long-term rental? Did you try
yeah,
short-term?
I
Just
paid cat. I
oh, nice. Okay.
well, sort of pay. I had to borrow a little bit, but I paid it off within a year or two. I
Oh,
just put
yeah.
everything I had into it to get that off, paid off.
Okay.
That was in 2017.
Okay.
And I have a really great property manager, and I really like him that I
Nice.
got to know. And then in about 2020, I bought another house in Florissant, Missouri.
Hmm.
Um, and I got that paid off too. But now I don't have a lot of cash flow from them. I have, some, even though I might have a hard time managing my expenses on the property. So I'm still learning how to do that. Um, it's but so basically right now I have, okay, that mobile home lot, what I did was in 2005,
Uh-huh.
I sold it.
Okay.
And I lived in an area, I have 3 acres next door. Uh, And what I did was that 3 acres was, it was zone duplex.
Oh,
So what I did was I built, I wanted a house to live in. So I built a house for me about 1,850 square feet with like a 4-car garage.
oh,
And
nice.
I built a about a 1,450 square foot 2-car garage attached to it. So I built
Excellent.
2 houses attached and called them a duplex for zoning purposes.
Okay.
And I rent one out. So I have right now I have that, a duplex in, say, Stanwood, Washington. Then I have that 2-story duplex I bought in Marysville.
Hmm.
Oh, and then I bought, my parents bought a small duplex um, in Marysville, and probably 1,000 square feet or less. I can't remember, but it was at a 1-car garage. And they passed away, and they left the um, duplex to me and my sister. Well, they didn't want to be involved in. So what I did was I bought them out.
Yeah,
So I,
that makes sense.
a lot of times I just took advantage of situations as they came along
Mhm.
because I had some savings to help me
Living
out.
below you got to have you have to have seed capital or savings so you can make moves. Right? You can take advantage of situations. I like that.
Yeah, and and I needed it for emotional reasons so I could sleep better nights too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So what
That's
I ended up with, those 2 houses, one in Florida, one in um, Missouri,
right.
and three three duplexes in the state of Washington.
Nice.
And that's where I'm at right now. And
And did I hear earlier you're 80? Did I hear that
I'll
right?
be 80 in May.
In May. Wow. Very, very cool. So what would you tell someone, again, your story goes back to 1972. You've continually invested in yourself, right? Going to more classes, learning. You didn't make lots of moves. You made a couple of moves a
Five.
decade.
I
Yeah,
bought 5 pieces of property over 50 years.
exactly. How did it work out?
Well, they're all free and clear. Um, the net worth, I'm not sure.
It's more than seven figures,
Yeah, yeah.
just
And
in
it's
just
more,
in real
it
estate.
probably put me, I think I looked, somebody looked it up for me, and I probably put you in about the top 96, 95
Yeah.
percentile. And but the hardest part I've had is the cash flow. That's been my biggest struggle. So that's why I highly recommend having some savings,
Mhm.
because the way I manage it, but I hire everything done.
Mm.
So I'm not
Yeah.
complaining. I still have cash flow, but I
Right.
don't have as much as some of the gurus say when you take classes.
Amen. Yeah, you got to have reserves. I'm curious, the properties that are in Washington, are they are they driving distance from where you are right now?
Yes.
Are they, yeah, they're all driving distance. Okay. So you
Yeah.
have two remote, Missouri, Florida, and then 6 units in and around where you live.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 They're all within less than about a half hour,
Yeah.
roughly.
So yeah. So driving distance, very, very cool. So again, I love this story. It's 50 years, 50, 60 years in the making. Only made 5 moves. You did a couple of cool things because you got educated. You did some lot splits. You've done some development. You created a lot for mobile homes. You bought out of state. Um, you bought your sister out, and you lived below your means. Never made a lot of money. Uh, you always had reserves, so you make moves and do that. So I think this is a great story. What would you tell someone? Right, you're part of my school community. I hope you're active and you give advice to the younger folks. But you're I don't know, 25, 26, just got married. You just don't think it's possible. right? You're so young and you've got 50 years, 60 years ahead of you, hopefully more. What do you tell that person just starting out?
Okay, just starting out. One, get educated. That's really high. That's what saved me. Because you don't know what you don't even know.
Mm,
And be two, I guess, be prepared to make a lot of mistakes. I did. Um, and don't ex I guess another thing is when you take some of these classes, you're going to get really excited
mhm.
and don't expect to have happen what they make sound up on stage because it didn't happen with me.
Didn't
Um,
happen with me either. Yeah.
get, okay, get educated, you know, live on less than what you make, really try. I once took a class from a guy named John Schwab. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, I've actually taken a class from John Schwab about 7, 8, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about that long. But the point he made, he had everybody stand up that was worth seven figures or more. And it was really several in his class, if not most of it. But the interesting was, okay, now we're going to talk about cars. And
Mm.
how many have a car? I forget, like maybe 8, 10 years old. And then he had them sit down, But the point was, is most of those people had old cars that
Yeah.
were, they
That's
didn't live very.
that's funny. People may not know this. I think this is the first time I've said it out loud. My car is 12 years old. The car that
Yeah,
my daily driver has 105,000 miles on it. And the other thing I have said is it's my dream car. It's the dream car I wanted when I quote unquote made it, but it's 12 years old with 105,000 miles on it. So it's funny how many millionaires have old cars.
yeah, it is. Um, what? Okay, get it. Oh, like join real estate classes. Continue to take them because what kept me going, because I had about a 12-year space or 10-year. Well, I didn't do much at all, but I learned how to manage what I had. I learned other stuff. You, I'm more introverted. So I did talk to some people that gave me some good advice and I listened to them. And that's the next thing is get professional advice. Um, and if you can put together what I call a mastermind class, where you have a group of professionals that you can go to
Yeah.
uh, and listen to them. I mean,
Yeah, that moved the needle for me too. I'm naturally introverted as well. I would much rather be in my own little cocoon than be in a big room. It's just I vibrate at a different frequency. It, I get nervous or jumpy. Um, but yeah, you've got to get in today's world with technology like you and I are using with Zoom. It doesn't necessarily have to be quote unquote in real life or belly to belly, but there's just something different about being in the room. And that's why I continue to do virtual with like school, which you're a part of, but also I throw a yearly event in Vegas because I just want people to, get that you just don't get the same vibration and hum by being in a physical room together. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, I plan on being in February to see
Oh,
you.
you're coming. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh, oh, that's how I thought you learned about me. Um, but anyway, yeah,
I learned about you when you joined school and your thing said 40 years experience. I'm like, oh, I got to talk to this guy. That's what I saw.
oh, yeah, actually, it was 50.
Or 50, yeah.
I messed up by 10 years. It goes by
It's
fast.
only a decade. It's okay, Bill.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I plan on being there. And again, you just never know when somebody might give you an idea. I listened to like some guy you have from Seattle named Dion,
Yeah, Dion, yeah.
and he said a couple of things that I would like to do that I implement with
I
locks
think
and
he's in and around you. I think he's in and around Marysville somewhere. I think.
oh, is he?
I
Geez,
think
I'd
so.
love,
We have to make an introduction.
yeah, I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah,
Um,
I can make that happen.
no, okay. Um, Especially somebody around here.
Yeah, I'll do that today.
Okay. Uh, there was something I was going to ask you, but you know what happens if I don't write it down, I forget it.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And it's
Well, if you ever remember it, you know how to get a hold of me. You can just send me a
okay.
note
I just,
and
yeah,
yeah, text me on school or whatever. Message me
yeah.
on school. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's oh, I guess one more thing I'm going to emphasize. I mean, I hope
Please.
there's something called Real Estate Investors Association. There's
Yeah.
national. You're familiar with that?
Uh-huh.
I recommend people to join something like that too, because it gets your, they have monthly meetings,
Yep.
and like you said, it gets you with people, and you just don't know. And some of the most successful people I there, they say that are in it from up here, they say that that's helped them way more than,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, you've got to purposely put yourself in rooms with people that are going the same direction, but also people that are, I don't want to say bigger, whatever, more
yeah,
experience, just so you could pick up little tidbits because you never know when you get those one or two things that change the game for you.
yeah. Um, You don't. I mean, because it was the two properties I bought in Florida were resulted I mean, in out of state
Yeah.
were the result of instructors of classes. Like they gave me
Yeah.
somebody to talk to or something. Okay,
Nice.
one of the things I haven't been able to do which is what I admire what you're doing is your buy box thing. I've
Uh,
never been able to figure out what a property is worth.
yeah.
And so I just kind of went trusted people that were helping me, and I'm sure I never got. Um, I probably pay close to retail for everything, but I
Yeah.
did know.
Maybe.
Um, and um, that, and if you can hang on to it long term, you got to think long term. That's something
Yes.
we preach all the time, and I so agree with that.
I appreciate that. I think you're a living example of what I keep. I'm trying to paint a vision for folks of what life could look like in 50 years or 40 years. And Bill, you are a living example of that. You only made 4 or 5 moves. You never made crazy amount of money. But I'm just going to ask you point blank: is your life better off today because you bought real estate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what can I say? I mean, like I said, with the cash flow. But there's more than just the financial stuff. There's some of the people I've met and some of the things I've learned and the growth attitude of the people you meet at these,
Yeah,
that's catchy.
it's
Um,
optimistic. Yeah, stay out of the doom loop.
yeah, so that helps a lot.
Yeah, I think again, I've always tried to paint a picture because it's hard for people in their 20s and 30s to think about being 80. It's just hard, right? They've only lived a couple of decades. They've only been an adult for 5 years. And it's hard for them to think about being 60 or 70. They just want to live for the moment. And I'm like, guys, if you just live below your means, create little seeds of capital,
Mm.
water the capital, you only got to make 4 or 5 moves. Your retirement at 80 is going to be better and likely much, much better. It's hard, but I just love this conversation. It's going to be a video I reference many times because I just want people to again realize it's life is better when you own some real estate. Life is better when you're in a positive community. Life is better when you get around people going in the same direction. Life is better when you continually invest and learn. It keeps the mind sharp. Um, it's just better, right, Bill?
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of times what you'll find when you try to do some of this stuff, people tend to put you down and by being in that group, you're with people who are doing it. And that helped me a lot more than what I can say because a lot of now my parents supported me when I was young. I want to make that clear. But a lot of friends
No,
thought
I
that
agree. Yeah.
so the people skills can really help.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, Bill. I appreciate you giving me this time. Hopefully, the audience appreciates it. Folks, if you are a part of school, do me a favor, send him a note. He is one of the 300 or so folks in there. So send him a note. Let him know that he did a great job. Also, 50 years experience, live below his means, 5 or 6 moves. It doesn't take a lot. Bill, thank you very much.
Thank you.